Yes. Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video. And today I can't believe how lucky I am really, because I'm getting to spend some quality time with a car I've been wanting to drive for 25 years, the Audi RS2. It's a very important car to me because it ignited my passion for all things Audi, and that all started with a copy of Volkswagen Audi car which came out in July 1995. I bought that primarily for the Volkswagen content, but on the front cover it didn't have a Golf. No, it had an RS2. I've got it right here. So this magazine came out, July 1995, and just look at that. Imagine that as a young lad or a youngish lad looking at this car and thinking one day I'd like to have one of those. Well, unfortunately that time didn't actually come because, I don't know, I bought an RS4 when these were relatively cheap, and by the time I'd decided I quite fancied an RS2, they'd gone up in price, and £40,000 for an old car like this in need of a lot of maintenance was a lot of money. So unfortunately I've got to accept that in this lifetime I'll never own an RS2, but thanks to the guys at Audi UK I've got a bit of time with it to make amends and get it out of my system. So yeah, let me take you along for the ride. But before we go for a drive, let me just show you what makes this special. Now, normally we start at the front, but let's start at the back. Now, the important thing with the RS2 is actually no panels are different to the standard Audi 80 apart from the bumpers. So unlike the RS4, there's no wide arches, it's actually the standard width arches. The bumpers are different. You've got this reflective panel in the boot, which a bit like the Trezor. There was a guy called Trezor who used to make these as an aftermarket thing, may even be made by him. But the most important thing about this car is the Porsche influence. So as well as being under the bonnet, we have Porsche influence to the indicators. These are actually 993 parts from Porsche. We've got Porsche wheels off the Carrera. We've even got Porsche brakes made by Brembo, and we've got Porsche mirrors as well. But the bit that we really want to see, we've even got Porsche on the badge there actually. So the S2 badge was very similar. This car's based on the Audi S2. I think that was 265 horsepower. This is 315 horsepower, and it does feel like a completely different kettle of fish, as we'll get to experience when we go on the road. But let me just show you under the bonnet, because that is where the Porsche magic has taken place. So there we have it, an Audi with the words powered by Porsche on the inlet manifold. If there's anything guaranteed to make this car a cult car and a superb investment, it's having Porsche from this era on the engine cover. Not many people know that Audi and Porsche were very related. In America they actually used to share the same showroom, so you'd buy a Porsche next to an Audi. There wouldn't be a Volkswagen in there, it'd be Porsche and Audi because they were seen as premium. So it was a natural alliance for Porsche to help develop this car. Naturally they didn't want to do a coupe version because it would have competed with their own cars, but they were happy to give this a go, and they did an amazing job. What they did was they put a bigger turbo on. Traditional tuning stuff, tuners have actually done similar stuff to this engine, but Porsche just did it and branded it as their own. But they put a bigger exhaust manifold, bigger turbo, bigger injectors, remapped it, the usual tuning stuff, and they made it a lot more powerful. It's actually significantly laggier, but I think that makes it so exciting to drive, as we'll find out when we take it on these wonderful roads here in Buckinghamshire. We've also got this black grille, which, bearing in mind this car was in the 90s, having black grilles was a bit ahead of its time then, I think. We've got these projector headlamps as well, which I think were shared with the S2. But this is a very, very special car. And we have this colour, which most of you will know as Nogaro Blue, which was used on the RS4 B5, but they actually initially called it RS Blue, and then they changed it to Nogaro. But yeah, RS Blue or Nogaro Blue, it can be either when we're referring to it, particularly with the RS2. Let's have a look inside. So we've got, interestingly, a de-chromed Audi badge on there. Again, bearing in mind this was the 90s, we've only just got black badges on normal production cars now, so that was quite interesting that they did it back then. We've got these wonderful seats made by Recaro with the Alcantara centres and adjustments performed by these buttons here, which is a bit odd, but there we go, electric, all the luxuries. We've got this beautiful carbon fibre here, and it goes across the dash as well. It's very nice. You can't probably pick it up on camera, but it's a bit three-dimensional. It's got this lovely blue bit in here, which actually works really well with the blue Alcantara and paintwork. And just look at the mileage on this example, 3,342 miles. We kind of guesstimate this car to be worth well over £100,000. So yeah, as you can imagine, I'm very blessed to be driving it. So ignore all my charging stuff. We've got no USB ports, but we do have a 12-volt socket there that works. We can lock the diff on this car to give it more off-road ability, but it's quite tightly set up even without the diff lock, so when you're on full lock you can feel it sort of grating a bit. We've got these gauges down here which got oil temperature, oil pressure and battery voltage, but because this is a right-hand drive car, the one you really want to see, which is oil temperature, is quite hard to see. Got air conditioning. We've got the period Sony stereo that's with a removable front to deter people from stealing them. Didn't always work. Interestingly, we haven't got height adjustment or reach adjustment of the steering wheel. There's nothing there to adjust it, so if it's no good like that, it's your bad luck, I'm afraid. Now, an Audi quirk that carried on to the A4 was to have the headlight switch there. They changed that, I think, for the B6 model Audi, so it lasted for a bit longer, but it was one of those little Audi quirks. And we've got this very, oh look at that, very, very valuable leather book pack with Porsche on it as well. Look at that. Wow. Wow, it's even got Porsche on the service book. So, you know, they didn't just bang in a normal book pack from a normal Audi in this car. Everything was bespoke. Beautiful. And black door handles there, which are really nice. It's got a sunroof, which is a metal one that does go all the way back, or it does tilt. And a fair old bit of room in the back, actually. These aren't known for being particularly big, but it doesn't feel too bad. We've got a black headliner. Actually, it's like a dark grey headliner, which would normally make a car feel pretty dark inside, but because this car it's got quite thin pillars, being of the 90s, it doesn't feel particularly claustrophobic in here, and the blue helps as well. Right then, let's have a look in the boot. So it is an estate car. It's not the biggest estate car. It was style over space. It's not like a Volvo with a very boxy profile. It's quite a raked C-pillar, or is it D-pillar? Battery in the boot. Screen wash for the rear, separate. So let's just have a closer look at the tyres. So again, we've got Porsche calipers on the back. And just check out how much the tyre sticks out. I mean, the wheel actually sticks out quite a lot as well, so it's possible to curb the centre of the wheel. But the tyre's really bulging on the rim, and that's because these wheels are actually half an inch smaller than the ones on the S2 that the RS2 was based on, which was a bit weird, but it does lend the car a degree of ride comfort that was quite unexpected. Okay, well, I can hardly believe it, but I've got the keys for this RS2 in my pocket. I have got best part of a tank of fuel, and I have got actually quite a nice warm summer's day here in Buckinghamshire to go and make up for lost time with this amazing car. So without any further ado, let's go and drive this Audi RS2. Okay guys, well, I can hardly believe I'm saying it, but here we are behind the wheel of the legendary Audi RS2, and not just any RS2, this is the one from Audi Heritage Fleet, just 3,350 miles on the clock, which, yeah, I'm very privileged though. Big thanks again to Audi UK. So let's talk about the stats then. So this car's got a 5-cylinder engine that's very closely related to that in the Audi Quattro, the legendary car that's very closely related to the rally cars. It's been breathed on by Porsche. It's got 315 horsepower, 410 Newton meters of torque, top speed 164 miles an hour. Now you may notice those stats are actually nothing particularly special today, but back in their day this was something particularly special. It got a few headlines because it was quicker to 30 miles an hour than a McLaren F1, that was a hypercar of its day, and it was actually quicker to 30 than Jacques Villeneuve's Formula 1 car. So how's that for a bit of a headline? So yeah, it's a pretty serious piece of kit. So Porsche took the S2 engine, which this car was based on. They put big turbo, big injectors, big exhaust manifold. They actually changed the cams as well, so that makes it a very, very peaky engine. And it's famous for its lag, because peak torque was at 3,000 RPM. The car's running the same suspension as the S2, apart from it's got bespoke Bilstein dampers for much better damping. It's got bigger anti-roll bars. It's got the same springs, so it's no lower than the S2. Like I said before, it's the same track. It's not a wide arch car. But let's just we'll just pop it into 2,000 RPM, about 30 and a bit miles an hour. And when we get around this bend, I'll put my foot down to the floor. We're in fourth, so nothing happening. 2,500 RPM, 3,000 RPM, 3,500 RPM, and now we're really motoring. So yes, it is quite laggy, but actually it's quite enjoyable, and you can learn to work it. The gearbox is pretty good actually, and the brakes, which we're going to have to use now, which are Brembo, basically Porsche brakes. Porsche have always been famous for their brakes, and this car brakes like a Porsche, so that cannot be a bad thing. So off we go. In fourth, the lag actually isn't as distinctive as it is in second, so let's try that again. So 2,500 RPM, 22 miles an hour, second gear, and up to the board, 2,500, 3,000, 3.5, 40. 4,000 RPM then was where it really took off, and then once it hits 4,000 it gets to like 7,000, which is pretty much the rev limit, much quicker than it did like 1,000 RPM before. It's just unbelievable. Now I know turbo lag has been engineered out because it makes driving a bit difficult, but actually it makes this car more engaging because, courtesy of the gearbox, which it's okay, it's not brilliant, it's got a very long throw, but it's actually quite usable. You have to think now what gear to be in. So if you go around this corner and you're lazy, like you would do in a modern car, you put your foot down now, there's not an awful lot there. You wait, 3,000, 3.5. Oh! Yes. Oh, and then it just goes again. It's amazing. But if we try and play with the gearbox to make it the most of the engine, so I think we need second gear for this one now. So we're in the right gear. We know it's going to be laggy on the exit, so we picked a lower gear, and there we are. So you can drive this car relatively consistently, but you have to use your brain, and I think that makes this car hugely engaging. Now, bearing in mind this car's chassis is a generation behind that of the RS4, I can't figure why it's so much better to drive on this road on which I drove the yellow RS4 back in February. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, it's nice. Even the brakes feel better as well. It's not perfect, there's a lot of roll, there's a lot of pitch, but the RS4 was the same, and I don't know if that car was messed up a bit by having the wide arches and the rider track. This car is a bit narrower because it's not flared arch. It shouldn't make it feel any better in corners, but it just feels more natural. So third gear, over this, slightly off camber there with a big tree. Look at this road, isn't it amazing? So yeah, it's not the happiest car on this road. You know, a Golf R would probably annihilate it, but my word, am I enjoying myself. And then there's that boost. Wow. But down to 30. To perfection with those Brembos. Yeah, they say you shouldn't meet your heroes, but this car totally blows that theory out of the window. This car is just incredible. The sad thing is, I'll never be able to afford one, but at least I can go to my grave knowing I've driven one on a road like that and absolutely enjoyed it. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volks Wizard video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one really soon.